Game on.
Hey guys, welcome to StarterStudio from Lunch. Thank you so much for coming out here today. I guess a couple quick announcements just before we get started. This is something that we do every Tuesday and Thursdays over lunch where we get the community together to learn about different topics. Next Monday, we've got a founders talk coming up. It's going to be Wayman Armstrong, and he's got a lot of experience as a successful entrepreneur in the gaming and simulations industry, and he'll be talking to us about his experience in starting a company. And we'll have another Brownback lunch next Tuesday and Thursday as well. I'm really happy to have an opportunity to introduce Steven here to you today. I was actually part of the inaugural.
Just watch out, don't step in front of that. You're okay.
And I remember the very first time that somebody asked me for a pitch deck. I was on the phone with somebody who could potentially be an investor, could be an advisor. I wasn't really sure, but I was going on and on and on about what it was that I was doing. And he said, "That sounds really great, Andy. Let's set up a time to talk and send me your pitch deck." And I almost want to ask him, what do I put in the pitch deck, right? So I was like, okay, well, I can figure this out. I've got Google. I can take a look at what other people are doing. So I spent the rest of the afternoon trying to figure out how exactly to put a pitch deck together so that I could actually present concisely what it was that I was talking about. I got as far as about the 10, 20, 30 rule, and I put something together that was okay, but the question is, once you get there, how do you take it to the next level? And I now know the answer is you want to talk to Steve Boltz, because this man, he's been constantly pitching. He's actually, I've had the pleasure of working with him a lot on my own pitches as we were preparing for Demo Day last year. But you may have seen him at Orlando Tech Meetup, you may have seen him at a Million Cups pitching, you may have seen him at the first quarter of Venture Pitch, where he actually won the Judges Award as well as the Audience Award for pitching, as well as last year's StarterStudio Demo Day. So this man knows what he's talking about, and I could go on and on and on about him, but I think it's about time that you guys came to hear him and not me. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him. Give it up for Steve Boltz.
Thanks, dude. Awesome. Thank you, Andy. That was cool. So just to preface today real quick, the idea here is Michael, if you guys were fortunate enough, came in on Tuesday and really talked about what should go in your deck content-wise, talking about the problem, the opportunity, the financials, the exit, things like that. My idea today is to purely give you some Ninja Turtle moves on what to do to make your pitch deck not suck as much as it might have before. And so really the idea is that I'm just going to tell you all the different things that we've done. If you think of the pitch deck as its own little company and the pivots it's seen just in the last year and a half with Shoflo, that's kind of the idea today, is to kind of share some of that with you. So started off real quick, what not to do. This is a beautiful story of someone who you'll never know because you can't see her face, because she literally doesn't know what she's talking about, and she needs to read the screen behind her to know kind of what to say. So that's literally, if you take nothing else away from today, the goal of today is that you don't recreate slides kind of like this. Something I've been just kind of thinking about as prepping for this, entrepreneurs, you never really stop pitching, whether or not it's literally in the shower to yourself and you're like thinking about different ideas or different opportunities, or you go, aha, I had that aha moment. At some point, it turns from an aha moment to you start pitching it to yourself. Does this make sense? Is there really an opportunity here? Is there really a problem that I'm trying to solve? And so then it kind of moves to the napkin, right? Even on a napkin, you're sitting there going, you're the first thing I've ever pitched and sold to, and you're sitting there going, as soon as it hits that napkin, it makes 100% sense. And you go, wow, this is awesome. And you get validation from the napkin almost in some sort of weird level. And then it can kind of progress on. Here's actually Shoflo a year and a half, 2 years ago, where it's just a disaster, right? Design diarrhea over here. But this is me pitching to talent, right? Trying to get my technical co-founder in on the vision of Shoflo. And so I've got to put it into words, and I've got to put it into a visual to an extent. And this is by no means the best way to do that, but at that time, that's kind of how I did that. Or you might be pitching just to your team to kind of get other people on board with you. This was Startup Weekend. Earlier this year, we did a little thing, a social entrepreneurial, kind of weekend focus, and we had one called Need Serve, and I literally had to get 6 or 7 people on my team, and I had less than 60 seconds to pitch the idea of Need Serve without any sort of slides at all in front of a bunch of random people, and I don't even know who's out there, but I just know I need to gather a team. Then immediately it turns into this mode of I've got to get everybody onto my team. They've got 6 or so options to choose from, and I've got to convince them to come over. So just the idea of entrepreneurs they never really stop pitching. Here's TJ and I, my technical co-founder here at the beginning of StarterStudio, pitching to mentors, literally trying to, within 3 or 4 minutes, say, this is what we're doing, this is why we're here, and this is what our needs are. Do these align with you? And we actually used, at that time, we're using an iPad just to show visuals of what our customer looks like and what the production company customer looks like. And you'll learn more about that in a second, but because that was the best way for us to convey it at the time. I didn't know how to put it into words so much, but I knew I could show you a visual, and that could help you get further along in the conversation. So just the evolution and the type of people that you pitch to never really stops. Obviously, 1 Million Cups, that's not us, but 1 Million Cups is a great platform where you're really, for the first time, maybe presenting to non-customers, non-vendors, non-anything. They're just kind of eyes and ears here in your peer group around, here in the community. And this is really the first time you've got to put it together in a series of slides that make any sort of sense. And if you don't, which we've all been to a 1 Million Cups maybe where you saw one that kind of train wrecked or potentially train wrecked, it's because they really weren't ready for that audience to get what they were trying to convey. And so they maybe need to go back. Orlando Tech Meetup. Again, I'm kind of painting the idea of all the different stages here in Orlando. It's pretty awesome. Orlando Tech Meetup's way more product focused, where you can share technically what you've got, feature-driven, functionality-driven, and then open it up for a bunch of technicals and also others to help you kind of understand what did and did not make sense to them and give you some critique. Finally, StarterStudio Demo Day, which is actually coming up here 6th of August, so put that on your calendars. But what an awesome, huge stage here in Orlando where the spectrum of everybody in the audience, a couple hundred people, it's ranging from capital investment, right, money, venture. You've got strategic partnerships that are out there. You've got vendors that are out there. You've got potential customers that are out there. And then you've got other talent and potential team members. So the spectrum's wide, and that deck that we present that day really needs to adjust for your audience. Because if I did a hard investor pitch that day, I'd miss the opportunity to kind of connect with some other people because we get lost in the language of the financials or such and such. So, on a demo day, you cast a wider net. And then here's just another great one, Venture Pitch, which is, what Andy was mentioning earlier. That one's highly financial, right? There's a lot of money or potential money in there. The entire judges panel is made up of different venture firms here in Orlando. So that's way more. You better believe we adjusted our deck for that, and talk more about that in a little bit. Social networking, or not social networking, just regular networking. Honestly, one of the most annoying parts of pitching, if you go just to a networking event, you're going to sit there and they're going to sit there and go, hey, my name's Joe Blow and I'm with C&L. And you go, okay, well, that makes sense. Like that kind of with the brand represents X or Y, or I'm a financial advisor. As an entrepreneur, you get out there and you go, my name's Stephen Bowles and I've got my own tech startup, Shoflo. They have no clue. Literally not even a clue what that means. You have to completely sell even 2% of it for them to walk away going, that made any sense at all. So you're then immediately going into this 30-second or 20-second elevator pitch, but then how do you not make it look like you're in phony pitchy mode, but you're actually sharing with them realistically what's going on. So that's actually I hate that one the most. I don't hate it, I'm always refining that. How do I share what it is that I'm working on the daily, the progressions that are going on, but still invite them into the conversation and not lose them by, being too whatever. And then finally, I just like this one, even though this one's less about pitching, but more about maybe daring, but literally even holidays, all that kind of stuff. You're always kind of pushing and convincing and getting people to do stuff. So that's just kind of a nothing. Anyways, here is really, I did all that to kind of lead up and just go, right here in Orlando, the stages are shaping up more clearly. And there is an awesome opportunity to ride the momentum from stage to stage. With Orlando Tech firming itself up as an association, with accelerators, with UCF, with StarterStudio, with collaborative workspaces coming into place. There are some fantastic opportunities to really leverage from stage to stage to stage your story and your pitch as you go through. And so Shoflo, I guess maybe in one way or another, happened to be on the front end, or at least somewhat on the front end of that. And we've done a pretty good job at leveraging that wave. So, all right, get down into the dirties. In my opinion, after scouring the internet, which is what we all do before presentations anyways, I liked this concept of the purpose of a pitch deck, right? It's not to answer all possible questions, nor close immediate investment. It's to open investors' minds to your vision and get them excited to know more. The story you craft in your deck gets them engaged to start filling in the blanks for themselves. And so really, I think that's really it at the end of the day. You can't do it all. You can't put it all in 10 slides or 100 slides that answer all the questions that are going to be there about the pitch deck or about your company. But what you can do is cast out enough of a vision of where you came from, where you're going, what your plan is, and wet their lips and really kind of find a way to get the slides and what's there and what's your story to identify with your audience. And so Michael mentioned this Tuesday. It literally is everything, in my opinion, is that confidence in pitching it's the number one thing. It's not as in you can function without it. I've actually seen plenty of pitches where people just stumble through. Yet you still hear stories of them getting money or them getting the customer sale or whatever it might be. But in my opinion, it's the largest distraction that you can put between you and the opportunity that you're putting out here on these slides. So for me, if I get up there and my microphone's breaking, or if I'm sitting there for 30 minutes trying to figure out how to do a secondary display, or if I'm sitting there trying to figure out how to tab out of my presentation to my demo and then back, these are all incredible distractions that lose the entire momentum of your pitch, throw you off, throw distractions into your investors or whoever's watching, and it just derails the whole presentation. And so rehearse has been the way that I've done it. That's been the way that me and TJ, my co-founder, have done it. Literally when we were doing Orlando Tech Meetups or demo day, we would go lock ourselves in a conference room and just do it 10 times in a row. We'd set a time and say it's got to happen in 8 minutes, and then we'd do it in 14 minutes. And we'd be like, oh shiz, now I got to get it, what's got to go? And you start chopping slides or merging slides, and then reducing the handoffs maybe between the two of us to where it's more logical and we're not unsure of where we're going. But rehearse is everything. I actually even went through this deck once this morning, even though it's a close to an hour-long presentation or time slot. You got to get through it once. You can't just build a deck and assume it's all going to come together. All right, so here's another one. Your deck should be able to stand on its own without you. I learned this firsthand when I first sent something to Vimvelo, I believe. I sent them a deck over here on the right that showed, Shoflo's customer. And again, I'm going to actually do a pitch at the end so you can kind of see it all come together. But you can see on the right here, I showed a beautiful picture, which me and standing in front of it, I'm sitting there going, our customers do X and the Y and the lights and the sound and all these great things, and it really paints a beautiful picture. But for them, they're sitting there with a slide deck that they have no clue. They don't even know what the context of what's coming next or what happened before. And so they're just sitting there going, thanks for the pretty picture, Stephen. So we quickly adapted over and really released something that kind of more so, without me, still accomplishes the goal of the slide. And I still believe in really the idea of 1 or 2 goals tops per slide. But in this slide, the idea was to identify themselves with an event like this that they might have attended or seen before, and then move them in a direction with the language that says events require production crews, operating lights, audio, and video. And so they're just looking at this going, that can't happen without lights, audio, and video. The next slide would have gone, these can't all happen on their own. They need, cue sheets, things like that. And you'll see that in my pitch deck later on. Compelling decks are concise. They tell a story, they're visual, and they're 10 to 13 slides. So love this because I'm big on story. Like really, really big on story. I think that's the thing that I feel comfortably confident inside of. Once I know what I'm trying to do, where my arc is in the deck, I feel like it gives me the license to get more creative with the slides. So for example, you should start at your 10 to 13 slides, and obviously the Guy Kawasaki rule and all of that such. Look it up. Michael spent some time on it earlier this week. It's huge. If you don't know about it, you need to kind of be aware of it. I think it's the starting point. For me, though, I will blend in more slides. So if a normal pitch deck would be 10, I will land up more like 18 to 20. But that's because I'm using them more actively. They're a part of my active story, whereas I don't just hit it and then pitch to the slide that's going on there. At the same time, you don't want to be so dependent on your flow of the slides that if I was to take slide 12 out, do we all just fall apart? Does the house of cards come tumbling down, right? Because that's kind of, I've seen that happen where someone hits next, and they go, oh my goodness, the world is upside down. They go white. They don't even know what to do. They're up there on the stage. And they don't know how to go back because the back button's been removed on the button, on the controller, all these types of things. So being able to know the flow and the story of your total deck is important to me. That way, if something happens, I still know where I'm going. I'm not just peaching to one slide. Here's a really sweet link. I can share this deck later on. This guy, I found this one through actually a Forbes website. Crowdfunder does it. And they literally have a deck that the first 5 or 6 slides does a lot of what I've been talking about right now. And then at the end, they literally give you the 10 slides, problem, opportunity, customer, market size, all those types of things. And it is just perfect to start from. I never actually used it, but I sat there and I'm looking at it going, this is my deck, just give or take some order of some things. So highly suggest checking that one out. So fun, right? Common deck mistakes that you might find out there. This one's classic, right? Common deck mistakes. Too many slides, too many words. So I've been doing live events for the last 10 years, corporate events, concerts, anything like that. And so I have been seeing presenters with their slide decks for just so many. The volume is ridiculous. And you would be surprised. It'd be $1 million show, and there would still be an executive who would get up there on stage with a slide that looks just like this. And then you're in that situation like that first slide where you turn around, and you're just, you can't even read on your own computer, but if you turn around, you might have a chance, to look at it here. So that's just disastrous. First of all, there's no way. That's a distraction right out the gate. The first thing that anyone in your audience is going to go is, well, shiz, and then I can't read that, and then they're now going to start thinking, you don't have it together, things like that. So highly suggest not going with that direction. IBM, which is actually a client of Shoflo's and also a client I've worked with for a couple of years now, they do a fantastic job. If you look at this, this is actually a screen. If you look at it proportionate to the people, it's gargantuous, right? I mean, it's probably 100 feet tall. Which, with that much real estate, the slide I even just showed you would probably show up still at like a 60 or 70 font, right, on the screen in relation to the viewer in the audience. But they still don't go for that. They still go with simplicity, right? What they're talking about there, it's so big that you need what you call image magnification on the left, IMAG, but on the right, you still keep it simple and digestible and let it be something that everyone can clearly kind of follow as you're going through it. So again, here's Guy Kawasaki's 10, 20, 30 point, or 10 slides, 20 minutes to present the slides, and 30-point font or greater. The 30-point font or greater, highly, 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 highly endorse that. I think if you get much smaller than that, it's really not worth being said, and you're forcing it at that point. Some other fun little common deck mistakes: too many product details or too many financial details. We had that in ours originally. We were trying too hard to financially substantiate where we were coming from and where we were going. And at the end of the day, it looked like a giant Excel spreadsheet up on the screen. And, so it's just, so everyone's sitting there going, hey, just email me your financials afterwards. So that's highly, it's not about that. Belittling competitors. So that would be like going, yeah, Walmart's in this space, but they don't really matter. That's just not a realistic thing to say. So being honest with your competitors is huge, and obviously, like Michael was saying, you can't ever get up there and say we have no competitors. We used to say that. We used to get up there and go, yeah, what's awesome is it's totally blue water. There's no competitors out there at all. And we would have people like Michael come up to us afterwards and go, you sound like an idiot when you do that. Literally, because if there's no competitors clear, then it's always current practices. It's always what they're doing right now, which in all actuality for Shoflo is absolutely what it is. Our competitors are Microsoft Excel. The current process is Microsoft Word. They have their claws very deep in there, and we have to educate them out of that. I'll talk about that later. False, silly assumptions you can't back up or you don't have data on. 12 trillion people in the world, download fart apps every day, something like that. That's just ridiculous. There's just absolutely no way that you could substantiate that. Or false confidence or arrogance. Our go-to-market strategy is awesome. Don't worry about it. We got it figured out. We got this SEO person. They're going to come in and kick butt. So don't even worry about that. That's a false confidence or arrogance or assumption, and that's very, very much so not what anyone's looking for. All right, best programs for creating a deck. You got the classics out there. You've got Prezi, right, which is a newer one. I think it's got a value, it's got a purpose, but I would highly not suggest it being your core foundation for building a presentation. Prezi is kind of like this vector-based Zoom thing where you can create a bunch of content and Zoom and really get really visually dynamic and awesome with it. It's really cool if you're sharing these links out to people, but in all actuality, I've seen Prezis fail even in an environment like this, so don't do Prezi in all honesty. Google Presentations is another one that I actually love, but would still never recommend you using in an actual environment like this. That startup weekend we did, one of the presenters in front of us used presentations and they couldn't figure out how to get it to secondary display, and they tripped and they failed, and it took an extra 3 or 4 minutes just to get them going, and it's got 4 people over there trying to figure out how to get Google Presentations to present on its secondary display. So I think it's awesome for sharing, again, a link and giving your presentation to people afterwards, but that's about it. PowerPoint's obviously been rock and roll standard forever if you're a PC dude. And then Keynote, which is my fave by far, amazing, love Keynote. I actually create so many things in Keynote. I'll even do wireframes, quick wireframes for a product feature or something like in Keynote, just because of the flexibility with it. And then Greg Pollack, if he was here, he'd mention ScreenFlow. ScreenFlow, you can actually see it right here, does a fantastic job at capturing your product like as you record, and then allowing you to go in afterwards and do this awesome stuff where it'll track where your pointer is. You can zoom in, do all these sorts of opacities, blow it up, all that stuff. So we use it for our product demonstrations. It's great for when you're pitching and you want to show some of your product, but you don't necessarily want to go to a live demo, which I would suggest not doing unless they are asking it of you. Just because the amount of variables go through the roof as far as what could go wrong. So ScreenFlow is fantastic for that. You can sit there and capture and then replay it back out. So if anyone's got a pitch deck coming up with a product, I would highly suggest using ScreenFlow. Google image search is your friend, in my opinion. I love this from a Google image search. I found sometimes when and it auto-completes alone, I use Comic Sans. I just thought that was pretty funny right there. Or sometimes when I'm alone, I Google myself. But literally, all I do, it's one of the largest things I do when I prep presentations is I use Google image search. It's ridiculous. And if you just adjust your searches, you get an entire new collection of options. And it's not just for you to rip them off, per se, but for you to use them for inspiration and start getting the conversation going in the directions that you want to. So here's just a fun example of it. Using ScreenFlow, I think this works. Doing a Google image, I didn't even know what I wanted to set out to do, but I was like, all right, I want to prove that you can quickly use Keynote and ScreenFlow and all this stuff. So I went and I found a red truck. I just literally thought about it out of nowhere. I come into Keynote, I duplicate it, quickly delete old stuff, paste it in there. I'm using awesome features in Keynote. I know I'm literally selling Keynote to you, but that's the point, ninja tricks. So right here, I'm using an instant alpha, which in my opinion, I highly suggest always doing your decks over white, because your flexibility just goes through the roof as far as being able to make stuff visually appealing. If you have a killer background, that's fine. But like right here, I'm literally taking a white shape to cover up some text, grouping that item together, now getting, allowing it to be like its own little asset, and then, building on top of that. And so that essentially lands at this right here, this is a red tractor. Pretty simple. So anywho, if you want no more ninja tricks on Keynote, I can tell you about it. First and last slide. So I'm a big fan of this, and Michael mentioned it before, and I've been doing it from the very beginning, and it's been effective for us. I've seen people who don't do it, and I feel like it's a missed opportunity. So over here, it says Shoflo.tv. I give them my Twitter handle. I say Shoflo makes live events run better, and I show them some of the product. Why do I do that? Well, that's probably going to sit up there for up to a minute or two before I get up there and get settled in while someone's introducing me, whatever it might be. And now you guys can start making assumptions, right? Well, Shoflo makes live events run better. I wonder what that means. What was the last live event I went to? Oh, it was that crazy Beaver concert or whatever it might be. But you start thinking about it, and it starts putting you in the mindset of what I'm looking for you to be in. At the same time, I can answer some very simple questions that might have gotten in the way, or you might have been waiting to hear so long that you miss other stuff, which is, Is it an app? Is this a product? Or is it mobile? Is it all the devices? So for us, we just kind of present that and let those go away, and then leverage that as we go through the rest of the deck. And then obviously at the very end, and even today, you'll see, if we do Q&A, if I leave any time for it, you need to know how to get in contact with me. That would be an absolute waste if I went to slide sorter mode at the end, or if I went to somebody else's deck, the first slide of somebody else's deck who's coming up after me. I mean, absolutely a missed opportunity right there. So first and last slides. I'm not going to spend too much time on this. This is what Michael spent time on Tuesday, but I didn't, it's kind of important to what we're doing here today. You can just take a second to read it, but essentially this is what the suggested standard deck would look like. Your elevator pitch, moving into some of your momentum or your traction or what you've been able to do with it, your market opportunity as far as being able to define the market size, things like that. Obviously your problem and the current solution, then moving it into your product or your service, then driving it over to your business model, your market approach and strategy, team and key stakeholders, which is huge, financials, competition, and investment. So again, this is way pitch focused, right? So investment pitch focused as opposed to what you would do at a StarterStudio demo day or at an Orlando Tech Meetup. Note here at the bottom, optional slides would be exit strategy, a more specific product or service demonstration, and kind of what you've got on the existing sales. Again, the reason those aren't necessary is because you want those to be a part of the conversation afterwards. Yeah, can you show me the product some more? Or what's your current numbers? Or how did you get to your current numbers? If you just spend 30 slides on all that, then you kind of take away an opportunity for more conversation afterwards. All right, cool story, 23 minutes. So NeedServe was Startup Weekend, and I just kind of want to share you for a pitch deck's case study here, right? So that was a 4-day weekend. It was a fun, social entrepreneur, detour from Shoflo for a weekend. I loved it. I highly recommend you go into these things. It's not only if you have an idea to pitch or something like that, but just to kind of, if you work all day long on code, you can go there that weekend and play more of a part as a sales or potentially like a customer validation approach, or you can be a coder. The cool stuff is that you can just get involved in entirely new projects, meet people. So, NeedServe, here is our deck, 12 slides, right? So, 3 times 4, 12 slides. So you can see at the top left, and I'll take you through this here in a second. In the top left, actually there would be a iPhone demo there. I think the asset fell off, but so you have NeedServe, and then you have specifically, so here it is right here, NeedServe, and then we give you that statement, something for you to think about. Connecting volunteers to local needs with measurable community impact. Cool. Volunteers, local needs, when was the last time I volunteered? That's cool. Or I know I serve at my church. I wonder if this connects to that, starting that kind of conversation in your listener's mind. Then we went to a build over here, but it's essentially one slide that acknowledges the customers or the potential customers, and they're all making statements like, I need volunteers but don't always have time to find and manage them. So you're making a case that there is an opportunity here. There's a need in these areas. And then we moved into, for this weekend, we moved into demo. And we slid this in, we tabbed over to the actual demo. We ran it on an iOS simulator, so we did risk it, but we made sure it was all local right there in the, on the computer. That way there was no chance for like internet failure, things like that. So we ran into the demo, then we bailed back out, came in, and immediately after you've seen the value of the product, we started talking about the value that it impacts in your community. Volunteering has a pathway to employment. Then we brought in our customer types. What are the potentials? Because again, this was all in 3 days. We came up with the whole thing, so it was okay to not have it all fully flushed out. So we were almost presenting the opportunities here for individuals, for education, and for businesses. We then went into why measurable. Why do we use the word measurable impact in our slogan? And we do that because for education, students require to volunteer, and schools want to measure student hours. Or for businesses, they want to measure and manage their employees. So again, we talk about why measurable. We move into the pricing here, which we visually bring. Again, you're seeing, we're taking these same icons or these same visuals that you've already been comfortable with from the beginning and carrying them through like characters through this story of NeedServe. So George, who's actually over here, was one of our customer validations for the weekend from a business. And so you saw him before, and now you see him here acknowledging a pricing point. Then we went into market validation going, not only are we just picking numbers out of nowhere, we have customers here saying that we would do that. Continued market validation from the business side saying I would be a part of this in this way. Then we talk about the conversation, because again, this business didn't exist 3 days ago. So for us, we felt like it was valuable to show that we were generating a conversation. This isn't just siloed in Rollins College. And so we really pressed this conversation idea and all the what in 3 days we've been able to generate. And then we moved to the team. The team is huge, right? The team shows that you're more than a deck. There's actually blood inside of this idea that you're pitching. And so for us that weekend, that was amazing to be able to show a team of 5 or 6 guys that are all saying, we were in this, we got it through to the end, and we're excited about what this could be. And so then at the end here, obviously the final slide, which the asset's not there, but we sit on that while we open it up to Q&A. So that's kind of just a breakdown for need serve. Okay. Here's Shoflo's pitch deck. Greg, this is kind of what Greg really asked me to come in and do today, which was to do a pitch for you. And so this is just a shot of my Finder and all the different pitch decks we've got. I'm a big believer in never using the same pitch deck twice. So you should not go to Venture Pitch and pitch the same pitch deck that you did at Orlando Tech Meetup. That would be a miss. That would absolutely be a miss because your audience is entirely different. So for us, you can just kind of see here's an investor, Florida Venture, all this kind of stuff. The one I'm going to show you today is was for Florida Angel Nexus recently. I think it was in April, and they gave us 20 minutes block, and with the suggested goal of getting it done within 8 to 10 minutes for 12 minutes of Q&A. So again, this is different. StarterStudio Demo Day, our starters that we're all prepping for, that's going to be more of a 5-minute presentation, and I've certainly done Shoflo in 5 minutes. But the one I wanted to show you today is way more investor-focused, pitch-focused. So it does have an extra minute or 2 on there, but it's because they gave it to me. If they needed me to do it in 5 minutes, I would bring that back down. The goals was to present Shoflo in a non-pitchy way, right? Hey, not anything like that. Because in my room, I'm literally walking into Gray Robinson downtown in a boardroom, and there's 40 or 50 angel investors in there. And so they're not there for me to show them some little trick or some funny picture at the front end of my deck. That's not necessarily the goal here. The goal is to present the business case for Shoflo, to understand the industry, understand the customers, show them the problem, share them the opportunity, show them the strategy, that it's not just a crazy idea, but I actually have it dialed in to an extent, make the business case, and then make the ask at the end. So I've blanked out a couple slides. You're not going to get to see all the financials for Shoflo today, but that's the idea. So with nothing else, I'm actually going to take a second here. Awesome, perfect timing. Here's our starting slide. Well, thank you very much. My name is Stephen Bowles, and I'm with Shoflo. I just want to thank Florida Angel Nexus for inviting me out, giving me a couple minutes to share with you all the awesome things that Shoflo has been able to do over the last 1.5 years, and really our strategy for growth and scale with some capital. So the first thing I want you to understand is that the events meeting industry is actually a lot bigger than we might think. It's kind of hidden underneath. But larger than the auto industry, the U.S. meetings and business industry supported 1.7 million jobs and generated $263 billion in spending in 2009. So that just kind of gives you an idea that what we're talking about. It's a little bigger than you might think when you see that corporate conference in your mind. Now, for you to understand where Shoflo lives, you need to see, you might have visited maybe an Ernst & Young or whatever your business might be, but that corporate conference where you walk in, there's a giant general session, maybe it's got an exhibit hall, and that presenter, that CEO is presenting from the stage. And you'll see all the audio and the video and the lighting, and that stuff doesn't happen all on its own. It actually takes a whole group of technicians, audio, video, and lighting, to pull that off. So in this scenario, Ernst & Young can't do that on their own, so they would hire a production company. Production companies are Shoflo's customers, and they actually can range from 5 to 50 people on their own staff. And again, they really handle the creative and the technical, but they can't do it on their own either. And so they actually leverage what's called the freelancer base, and that's your audio engineers, the guys who mix at front of house, make the sound come out of the speakers, the lighting guys who make all the lights happen, and the video engineers who play back videos, cut the cameras for the screens. right there from the freelancer base, that's where I come from. The last 10 years, I've been in this industry doing events just like this all the time. And what's cool is that you would go from Ernst & Young one week, and that freelancer base, like myself, would go to an entirely different event next week in a different room and with a different production company and with a different end client. And so that freelancer base really acts as kind of like bees, and they cross-pollinate the industry, which we're certainly using for our marketing strategy. So again, all of that audio, video, and lighting doesn't happen on its own, and so right now they use what's called the production cue sheet. And the production cue sheet is the current industry standard that keeps all events on track. It's kind of like an agenda that would say Stephen Bowles comes on stage, and the audio does this, the video does this, and the lights do that. And then next comes up Michael, and as soon as he hits the stage, the lights go to dark, and they play a video real quick, and then it comes back up. It gives all of the crew, the technical crew, an idea of what to do at the right times. And you can see here, it's typically created in Excel, looks like a table spreadsheet, and it takes a lot of paper. And so that kind of brings us a little bit more into the problem, right? So right now it gets created in Excel, it gets printed and distributed to a production crew of upwards to 50 people. These are all the guys running around backstage. And as soon as we get it, we laugh because we sit there and go, this is out of date. Literally, it's already out of date. And then Steven walks on stage and he sits there and he goes, whoa, 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 I'm rehearsing. This video shouldn't play yet. It comes on after I come on stage. And immediately someone on their own little laptop in their own version of Excel of this document makes a new edit, and now everyone else's is rendered useless. And so then they trash and they reprint and they redistribute an entire new set of cue sheets, and that will happen several different times a day, several days throughout the event. And it's really, that's kind of the problem that we're setting out to solve. And so that's where we came up with Shoflo. Shoflo is a real-time production cue sheet platform for live events, and we focus on the production company, saving them time and money. We save them time first by offering real-time edits and removing the version-based process that might happen before with Excel. We also bring in cloud collaboration where you can be editing and I can be editing together on the same document, similar to Google Drive and Google Docs, but removing that kind of local barrier that happens where only one person with the open version on their computer is there. We also offer live cue tracking, which I'll show you a little later on. That's kind of one of our key features that allows the crew to track one person as they advance throughout the cue sheet. And then obviously cloud again on the scalability. We take away the barriers of just the room, and we allow for you to access it from outside the room, even outside the state, even outside the country. We're all able to access the same document. We also save you money by reducing the paper costs. So the production companies actually are able to reduce their paper waste by an average of 80% on shows that use Shoflo versus shows that don't. We also offer, with our real-time edits, that allows the crew billable hours to go down, because now we're not bottlenecking the crew into overtime while we're waiting for newer versions of the data to be able to rehearse appropriately. And then we also offer cloud accessibility, which can reduce labor requirements. In that sense, we're actually potentially even removing an entire position or a role, which could be $500 a day times 4 or 5 days. And here's just another aspect of it. With an average show of 50 crew members, all doing about 100 pieces of paper per day, that's 5,000 pages a day, and the average show, again, going for between 3 to even 7 or 8 days. So Shoflo is really, it kind of fits right there into the environment. You can kind of see here it's completely mobile as well as browser-based. It responds to the device that you access it on. Users can get in there and actually adjust their different notes and their different highlights based on their role. So if I'm an audio engineer, I can make notes that are unique to me, whereas before I would have just been giving printed stuff that was global for everybody. In addition, you might see here the stage manager here, or the show tech on the right is able to select a stage manager on the left, and then as the stage manager advances on the left, the show tech follows on the right. And so that's kind of one of our sweet spots of Shoflo, and that brings real value to our customers on show site, is being able to keep the whole crew on track through the rehearsals. You can see here that Shoflo is in use. On the left, there's the stage manager out at front of house for a show we did at Fiserv in the fall, and then that's actually myself staged, but it's funny. The technician there backstage, and you're able to see kind of what that experience looks like from front to back. As of Q3 of 13, we have 205 registered organizations, and I've serviced over 285 events with different brand names that you see here at the bottom, from Fiserv to Outback to PwC. Just kind of talking a little bit from our user's perspective, the stage manager who does the highest engagement with the application loves it because here they're saying printouts were obsolete before we could finish passing them out. Finally, there's a tool to keep up with the fast-paced and ever-changing production environments. And then here we have actually the production owner, which is our customer, our paying customer, talking about how Shoflo actually helps them differentiate themselves to their competition by offering more sustainable alternatives and technologies. So the Shoflo sales model is as here. Right now we do targeted marketing through advertising, and then we're also bringing on sales for Find and Activate. That brings users in, they do a user sign up, and then they identify themselves as an organization. By identifying themselves as an organization, that means they create events, which means we want to talk to them because they probably are paying customers. We then move that offline and do that through a series of direct sales, which is email, phone call, which certainly starts with more of a consult, identifying their problems, helping them see Shoflo as an alternative, and then moving that into demonstration and conversion. Understanding a little bit more just real quick about the industry. In 2009, there was over 280,000 combined conventions with 108 billion spent on meeting planning and production, which would be in that production company, our customers' world and budget, and then 12 billion specifically on audio, video, and technical type stuff, which is certainly where we come in on a line item there. Also just understanding that Shoflo is not just a one-trick pony, but that we are actually a platform with a very clearly defined roadmap for products that are going to be released to the market. Shoflo Q right here is already in the market generating revenue, and production docs is scheduled for Q1 2015, which will be an additional revenue, and then script as well in later 2015. So the idea here is we're taking the same customer and continually to feed them into our sticky platform. We certainly are not without competition. Right now, we do see that competition more as what our current practice is. Microsoft Excel, Google Drive, very little bit. We actually see Google Drive more as validation that we are in the right conversations as our industry is starting to look towards cloud-based solutions. But at the end of the day, it's all Excel. They have their claws very deep into our market, and so right now we have to educate them out of that and see Shoflo as an alternative. We do have a competitor, ShowPro. It's more of an iPad app that you download from the iOS store. So we quickly differentiate from them with cloud-based services and obviously our just product platform growth. They're more of a one-trick pony kind of place, but we are keeping an eye on them. The team, which is essential, TJ Krasinski is my technical co-founder. He's written every single line of code. He's also from the industry, so that helps him bring more awareness into who our customer is and why we're doing this. And then myself, 10 years in the events industry, got 2 prior tech startups myself, one of which that did $1 million in revenue in the first year. So, you know, we're still learning, but this is absolutely not our first time out in the entrepreneurial world. Also, our current status. Right now, Shoflo Q is fully built, market tested, customer validated, and ready for aggressive marketing and sales. So we've done a lot of the heavy lifting with Shoflo as far as getting it ready for the market. Now we're ready to bring on the ask and the capital. And with that, we're asking for X amount of dollars. That's directly to go into operating capital focused on sales and marketing of Shoflo Q first. We want to generate the revenue to be self-sustainable by mid-2015, while at the same time, we will be applying this capital to expanded product development, like you saw on that roadmap, that will feed into it and really give Shoflo what it needs to scale. And down here below, you can see our financial forecast that you actually can't see below because I took them away. And then at the end, we're certainly not driving a lifestyle business here at all. This is an exit-focused company. We see acquisition by a meeting and events software company looking to expand their portfolio into event production. So we've actually just with market research found that here's a great example. It's happening pretty actively right now. We're 2 large players in the software meeting side. They're more focused on the attendees outside the general session ballroom. And so they just did an acquisition, and I really just wanted to highlight here that we've created a comprehensive suite of solutions. So they're all really trying to expand their portfolio. And so Shoflo, being inside the ballroom, technically niched, we really believe over the next 2 to 3 years we can scale that up, become attractive enough for an acquisition in these places as well. So again, my name's Stephen Bowles. Thank you so much for the opportunity to come out here today and share this with you. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me at the information you see on the screen. But without anything else, I'll actually take questions. Not actually just yet, but. So that's the theory there. All right. Just a quick breakdown of that, and then I'll go to questions, but if there are any. So yeah, I did way more slides, right, than even NeedServe, or way more than Guy Kawasaki would suggest. And I'm not even saying that that's the best way to do it. I'm just saying that's the way that I've found communicates Shoflo well. And you'll notice a big reason is I take a while up here at the top, identifying the industry and the customer and identifying that I'm from it, because I don't think that we're a medical company, right? If we were like, hey, we do XY medical devices, you might quicker, be more quick to identify with that. But I've found that most of our investing audience needs me to take more slides on the front end to make sure they're comfortable with who it is we're talking about. Then we go into the problem, the solution. We touch on demo, but I actually do a mixture of demo and showing the product in its actual environment. I feel like there's value in that happening. Then we move into, right after you see the product, you're going, well, that's pretty cool looking. We take it, sorry, I guess I could be doing it this way. We take it and go, cool, not only is it good looking, it's actually already in the environment. We're in use here. Here's kind of what we've been able to do on our own. Here's what our customers are saying. The important thing there is that we have customers. So that's what's fun, is that you can actually already get a pulse from what our customers are feeling from what we've got right now. Then we go more into the business model as far as how do we price it, which note on that pricing model's out of date. And then we talk, I zoom out. You notice here I actually zoom back out one more time to industry. I do that so as to validate that this technical budget existed. And I want to do that right before I go into my products and reinforce that there is money for the products that I'm going to be releasing over the next year and a half. Acknowledge competition, acknowledge team, my current status, where we are right now, where we want to be, and then our exit, and then the finish slide. So that is my ninja tricks presentation. So I hope that was valuable. If you have any questions, you can find me afterwards or right now. How much time do we got? 10 minutes. Is there any questions?